Now, turning our attention to what's going on with Israel and Syria, this hasn't been that well reported in the
Right.
States, but there apparently was an airstrike that Israel conducted on Syria. There are conflicting reports what the intent of that was. On Thursday, Bibi Netanyahu, who doesn't lead Israel right now, he's in the minority party, but he has acknowledged that this has happened. When Bush was asked about it at Thursday's press conference, he refused to answer questions about it. What is going on here, and how does this impact the politics of the entire region?
It's made everybody a little tense. I mean, the good side about it is that the Israelis bombed Syria, or bombed a site in Syria. They may have sent in some troopers to do what is called euphemistically a smash and grab, to grab something. We don't know for certain that happened, but it's rumored that Israeli soldiers went inside Syria to grab something. And that's about all we know. But the speculation that John Bolton, our former ambassador to the United Nations, and various other players in this have alleged, but I think with no evidence, is that Israel bombed some site that it felt related to the development of a nuclear program inside Syria, and that the North Koreans had somehow proliferated some technology or some system that would be helpful in this process to Syria. Now, the implications of this are huge, because if North Korea was involved in some proliferation of nuclear program-related material to Syria, that would undermine and really scuttle, I think, the six-party talks in North Korea that we're managing with North Korea right now. And the neocons, particularly, John Bolton is a pugnacious nationalist. He's not a neocon, but he's running with them enough that the lines are blurred. But John Bolton, Richard Pearl, Bill Kristol, and others would love nothing more than to embarrass Condi Rice and Ambassador Chris Hill on the North Korea deal, which they completely oppose. So we just don't know. It's a black hole. And what you have right now going on are people speculating about what's in there. And you even had John Bolton out yesterday saying, in light of this, that America would welcome, an Israeli strike on Syria, an Israeli strike on Iran, wherever Israel, strikes will be fine with us, and that there would be support for that. It's extremely unhelpful if you're trying to stabilize a region to have, the Bolton types out there basically shaking the system. Joe Cirincione has been out there saying absolutely nothing that we haven't seen before is happening in Syria, and this is a contrived
And Joe
effort. I apologize. Joe Cirincione is one of the country's leading nuclear non-proliferation experts, and he is the head of that kind of program and at the Center for American Progress. Also, I had lunch the day before yesterday with former President Kim Dae-jung of South Korea, and I asked him the same question. I said, what's going on? What do you think is going on with North Korea and Syria? Is there anything there? And Kim Dae-jung said that, I'm just reporting what he said. I have no idea what is true and what is not. But he said that he spoke with the foreign minister of South Korea's current government before he left for the United States, and the foreign minister told him that North Korea has not, in their view, has not proliferated in any of this material to South Korea, and that this incident is in fact being engineered to try and undermine the six-party talks. So that was what Kim Dae-jung, former president of South Korea, said to a number of pretty serious foreign policy experts just the other day in answer to that question.
That's what seems to be very frustrating about the situation right now. So much information that we hear in the news, we don't really know the veracity of the sources. And so it's hard to make objective decisions about what is appropriate military action and what isn't, because you don't even know if you're getting good facts or not all the time.
I think that's really true, and everyone's been so hush-hush. The absence of leaks of what really happened is fascinating. But I'll tell you another good thing that kind of heartens me a little bit. Remember, the Lebanon-Israel war was precipitated by the incursion of Hezbollah, the kidnapping of a couple of Israeli soldiers. And while this is very important, it precipitated a major, fiery, heavy casualty exchange between Israel and Lebanon. And this incident of Israel basically breaking into the lines in Syria, bombing inside Syria, perhaps sending troops inside, has cool heads have prevailed. The fact that we're not in Syria is fascinating to me. That Syria hasn't launched a counterattack just on the merits of it with Israel. So to some degree, that is something that either speaks to the seriousness, that everyone knows how fragile the situation is, that all of the leaders involved are really being hyper careful, because one misstep could take them down a very slope. But I think that we should be heartened, at least temporarily, for the fact that a major new war was not initiated by what Israel did. We need to find out what Israel bombed or what they acquired in this smash-and-grab operation. And until then, I think people ought not listen to John Bolton and others that are speculating about what might have been in that effort.
Bolton seems almost safer when he was at the UN and not outside of it, it's sad to say. But one other issue I want to get to,
Sure.
we only got a couple of minutes left. Pakistan seems to be in a very turbulent situation right now. With Musharraf, the dictator there, might have to be forced to not run for re-election again. And two other figures, former Prime Ministers Sharif and Bhutto, circling around. Your colleague, Samir, wrote a piece in foreignpolicy.com saying none of these guys are really all that great. None of these three. None of them are really true advocates for democracy. What does that mean as far as how we should be approaching this? Bush seems to be trying to prop up the dictator Musharraf. Is there a horse we should be backing, or do we need to back just democracy and self-determination in general and not be trying to pick horses here?
It's a fine line. Samir Lalwani, who wrote this piece that was basically, arguing that we may miss Musharraf. I don't completely agree with my trusted friend and aide here. I think that we've overinvested in Musharraf, but we had reasons to do so because the options at the time and the various instabilities there were such that, I hate to say it, is that instability and the lack of confidence in the government previously led one to say, if you're going to be conducting these kinds of wars, and you see the fuzziness of borders now between Afghanistan and Waziristan, and what really the concern that I do have about the Talibanization of the region and the Al-Qaedization of the Taliban is something we've got to figure out how to unwind at some point. And having Musharraf there at some point was it. But we've overinvested in him, and he's not producing the results that would be useful. I've spent some time with Benazir Bhutto in a couple of sessions, and I have to say, not being a great Pakistan expert, that I was nonetheless highly impressed by her confidence in democratic process and her strategy, if people really break it down to look at it, about how you reach out to these lesser controlled parts of Pakistan. And it's not to say that any formula will work. What I think the United States wants is general stability. But investing in Musharraf at this point is not yielding stability. It's yielding incredible fragility, a possible continued efforts at assassination of him, and a potential instability that could move Pakistan's nuclear capacity into the hands of some really bad and awful people. So I think that anything that incrementally walks Pakistan away from a military dictatorship and martial law towards something that has legitimacy in the public, but nonetheless still maintains stability in one of the most volatile and dangerous places in the region is useful. So I support the move to eventually inject Bhutto back into the game and to have the kind of political competition that would be fair. But it's clear to me that Musharraf is trying to stack the deck in lots of ways, and I think the Pakistani public has the institutional strength, increasingly in the decisions we've seen to basically say that's not going to work for us. So I think we need to be evolved towards a modified position that is respectful of Pakistan's apparent interest in checks and balances in government, the rights of minorities in government, and the return of someone that can help reflect that for a substantial portion of the Pakistan public.
Well, thank you so much, Steve Clemons. That has been a fantastic and insightful explanation of what's happening in the Gulf region and Central Asia. I hope we can have you back on the show sometime soon.
Anytime, Bill.
Thank you so much.
Keep up your great work.
Thank you. This has been the Liberal Oasis radio show on WHMP. News, information, and the arts. We'll be back next week, Saturday at 10 a.m. And on Tuesdays, feel free to check me out at Northampton's Drinking Liberally at the Northampton Brewery. And check out this show, audio and video, at LiberalOasis.com. This has been the Liberal Oasis radio show.